Namaste. Welcome all of you to this evening's 10 a.m. show. And it's Wednesday and it's Shri Vibhuti Jha, as always. So,
Namaste.
Namaste Vibhuti ji.
Namaste to you and namaste to all the viewers.
And so, what's the score for the week? How many killed by the guns?
If we are not counting Chicago, then it is not a bad number.
Okay.
but Chicago is a leader in the black on black crime. But today I've noticed I had a sad thing to see two incidences. One was in New York City in the subway, where
Mhm.
two young men, one of Southeast Asian origin and a black man, they got into a fist fight. It looked very ugly, and the Asian guy was beaten up pretty badly, including what you call a so-called unofficial choked strategy as well. What was disturbing was the fact that the chats that followed that, the entire conversation, that was disturbing. But the entire one group of people were saying, "Oh, it's nothing new in New York. It always there is a fist fight happens. One guy gets beaten up. Big deal." The other group was saying that the Chinese guy or whatever Southeast Asian guy was called the black guy a nigger. And the third group was people were saying that, thank God there were no police, otherwise the black guy would have been shot down. We have a very clear mistrust operating in the system. And I had one thought that if I confront a 6 feet 6 inch guy who is much stronger than I am, chances are that I will not provoke him because my odds of getting beaten up is much more. But if it is a 5 feet 6 inch guy and if he irks me, he is in for a treat. It is all a theory of relativity operates in a bizarre way. But in this particular case, the dialogue and the conversation that was going on showed the extent of mistrust that exists in the community. And that's a big challenge. The second incident was equally horrible, that a 300-pound big guy, black guy, walks across the street, kicks a Chinese or whatever Southeast Asian woman who was definitely 50 plus in her stomach. And when she falls down, gives her two kicks and walks away. I mean, these days, when you have a technology-driven society where you can be on camera, he knows there will be no reprisal. He knows there is no punishment. And because of the New York City particularly, I can say that, where Blasio has created such, distrust and such a bad situation that I am not interested in going back to Manhattan anyway. I don't want to go there because I do not know what people will think of me as. So while the anger and frustration is driven by the Wuhan virus, which is being curbed, and two groups are fighting in America right now, that everybody knows that who director was a Chinese nominee, who is manipulated by him, who has tried to give China a clean chit. And there are Republicans who are saying that it started from Wuhan virus, let's investigate. And there is a clear indication that the reports are being managed or they are trying to suppress the truth. That angers. We are living in a technology society right now where despite being strangers, we are friends and we have to live with the strangers, whether we like it or not. Our entire thing is viewed by so many people who are strangers to me. But there is an element of trust that operates that probably Sanjay Dixit, Vibhuti Jha talk sense that we have encouraged them to trust us on our point of view. We are not bartering baloney here. So there is an element of trust. When it is missing, it creates a problem. And trust is as the famous thinker Fukuyama had said, that low trust societies tend to shut themselves out of the cooperative alliances that makes prosperity possible in the modern life. That's a very beautiful line Fukuyama said. And that's what I said earlier. What I loved about America is the fact that the society operated on trust. That trust is missing today. Whether we like it or not, that trust nobody has. And that is the breaking of the fabric of America, in my opinion. This is not the America I came to, where the words mattered. There was a trust in the system, that the process works. And to that end, when you said whether it's the Democrats or Republicans who are responsible, it is definitely the role of leadership in the political arena that plays a key role in putting the trust together or breaking it. And if you notice one thing, that currently there is a major crisis from my point of view and many points of view on the southern border, for example. Southern border.
Yes, yes,
बहुत
yes.
सारे लोग आ रहे हैं. So one group of people are trying to say it is a real crisis because even the what you call Latino or Mexican border security people are talking about the fact that the facilities that are designed to hold not more than 1,000 people in normal circumstances is housing 4,100 children in COVID environment. So the question is that politicians, when they talk about crisis, Biden administration says there is no crisis. And I laughed at it in a serious way. Yeah, from their point of view, there is no crisis because they are securing the vote bank. So securing the vote bank is not a crisis for me at all. It may be a crisis for you, but it's not for me. So there's a very sad thing going on the political leadership front, where while we deal with the strangers, we are required to live with the strangers. Now nobody trusts anybody. The third incident that I wanted to talk to you about that I came across was a German propaganda. A friend of mine who is a major general, retired major general from Indian Army, he sent me a 16-page report prepared for Bundesliga, German assembly government, detailing how human rights violations are happening in India. It's a lousy report, badly written, not because of English language of that lady Ali and plus the NGOs who have supported her write that story. You can see it is how farcical it is. But she has created a narrative against Hindus and India and Modi that creates a mistrust. Now, I can ignore that report, but I can't take it for granted because that's a legal document sitting in the German parliament. So you are looking at a scenario that the people who are abusing the democratic process are those who are not subscribing to democratic principles of freedom and free expression, because that's not their way anyway. So we are looking at a disturbance of Asian hatred in United States, because the United States has also gone through its own elements of hate. So post Second World War, there was a tremendous amount of hatred against Japanese, right? That internment of Japanese happened. So it is a cyclical process because everybody is a foreigner, everybody is a stranger, and you are definitely annoyed because of the frustration caused by the pandemic. People have lost lives. 500,000 people in America have died in peacetime, over 500,000. And millions have lost their jobs, lost their incomes. So there is a frustration, and government is not coming out with the truth. And that's where the accountability factor plays a role. So you are right. There is a rise, but the rise is aided and abetted and exploited by the political leadership who do nothing to inspire and create trust. And trust is the key operative word. If you do not create trust in a world where you are dealing with strangers, across oceans, thanks to technology, across countries, and if the strangers do not have the element of trust, then nothing can happen. So this is a very vital issue right now in America because police is not trusted. The trust on police is gone. Certain groups of people have destroyed the trust in police as a law enforcement agency or protectors of, protecting and defending the social structure. The police is not trusted. So who do you trust right now? People are taking law in their own hands. I told you about the examples. It's a merciless beating. The guy is on the camera. And what was sad in the train, that not one person came to rescue or interfere or stop the fight. They were standing and watching and taking the pictures. That's it. That's the power that we have with the cell phone. We took the picture. Thank God that picture came out. But the police cameras have been removed from these surveillance cameras, have been removed. You know why? Because more often than not, it is always the blacks who are guilty. So remove it. So nobody has anything to, accountability went through the window. If somebody is watching me is gone. Good, bad, or ugly, the implications I do not know. So trust is not a glue. Trust is not something, an emotional thing. It is an emotional thing based on commitment, performance, and values that drive us. Today, those values are getting eroded very seriously. And you are seeing a rise of radicalism in political groups all across the spectrum of the society.
So it is it seems from Black Lives Matter, it's
Yeah.
gone to only Black Lives Matter.
Yes. So it's same. And I said this to a few black friends of mine that you should align to Hindu philosophy. They were totally taken aback. So he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Do you know that it is only in our religious belief that women are accorded a very high status. We have goddesses and incarnations of gods that are women. And one of them is Kali. Her name is Kali. She's black. And even our Bhagwan Krishna has a name. It's called Shyam. And Shyam means of darker skin." They were totally taken aback. I said,
Oh,
"You should
yeah, yeah. You're giving them satanic verses.
So they were totally taken aback, because you have to relate with them, you have to tell them that. And if you don't tell that to the educated lot, how can you ever have a conversation? But I'm also very happy to share with you that, a few years ago, actually, in a church in Manhattan, on a Shivaratri day, there were 3 hours of chanting of Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Believe it or not, the guy who led the whole thing on harmonium singing was a black guy himself. So there is an awareness coming in, and people begin to see the values of our own belief systems. And it is time for us, as I repeatedly say, this is the time for us to step up with our own concept of acceptance, not trust, not tolerance. And if we create that sense right now, the world is waiting for some messiah to come up and say, embrace Sanatan principles. That's the way to go forward. So I'm saying that yes, hate and love, trust and no trust, these are all part of our emotional being. We can't be always laughing and crying, head and tail. They're all two sides of the same coin. It will happen. But managing that emotion is key. That's the important part. How do you manage that emotion? Recognizing a very simple fact that hate cannot have a moral justification to it. It does not have any moral justification to it. That's how we have to handle it. We can't ignite hate into violence. We have to control hate into processing that energy in some other direction and understanding the challenge and the problem. So, as people, as we deal with the strangers, we have no choice but to deal with the strangers. We are living in a society right now where, we are connectedly strangers, through the social media and everything else. We have to have respect.
Well, you rightly said that the political systems are kind of given up, or it is complicit in the whole situation, and it's not doing anything. It is shaken off its responsibility. It is not trying to put things in order. It seems to be thriving on chaos, and you have a whole flood of migrants, illegal migrants waiting on the border to cross over because you have given them that kind of a message that, okay, now that the Democrats are here, they're going to welcome anybody and everybody, and if it is illegal, the better. More the illegality, the better. And that kind of disadvantages people like Indians who actually place a lot of premium on going about it the right way. They are not the ones who are going to the border and trying to gate crash. They are the ones who want H-1B visa, who want to come through their merit, and they would prefer some kind of a merit-based visa system. But instead of that, we have this chaos being thrust on everybody else. And I think definitely the Pax Americana seems to be in danger.
It is definitely under risk. I'll tell you what is happening. There are a lot of, it is, as you and I and majority of people know now, that somewhere along the line there is a group of media that doesn't report these incidents. But it was horrifying to know that the children who are taken in, they are being sent all over the country, in schools, in San Diego. Even normal schools are not having in-class teaching right now in many places. These children who have come, they don't speak English. You are putting them in schools in Manhattan and Long Island and other places. 5 children in a class X, 5 children in class Y. You imagine the stress it creates on the system, on the teachers, on the students in the classroom. So you have 5 children there in the classroom, completing a head count of sorts, and then you are telling them, what are you going to do? Teach them in English? They won't understand a thing. So do you halt everybody's training, or you train them in English, or what do you do? It is creating a stress on the children who are already in the class. The parents are going through stress. And it seems the Democratic Party doesn't care a damn about that. That is the sad part. So while you are still having COVID-related mandates and requirements, people are coming in without COVID verification and COVID testing. So when a group of 19 Republican senators toured the place, Biden administration did not allow them to take pictures. Some people, that's horrifying, that US senators are not allowed to take pictures. Somewhere along the line, they took the videos. That's how people came to know the horrifying conditions they are living in, children are living in. But it is very interesting, Sanjay ji, that you will be surprised to know that number of Indians who are migrating through that process, they are coming in. And suddenly, several immigration lawyers from Indian origin are making big bucks on asylum ticket.
Okay, that's interesting. So I think people should take a flight to Mexico instead of taking it to
That's
Europe.
what is happening. That's what is happening, obviously. And what is interesting also was the fact that while they're coming here, I asked one of the immigration attorneys, who is a very good friend of mine, I said, how do you, in your due conscience, even take up those cases? Because you are not Mr. Smith or Mr. Kaskowski, who doesn't know the Indian conditions. You know that none of these groups of people who are claiming asylum on basis of religious persecution are actually victims. That's a bogus case. Are you abetting a wrong thing, or you are facilitating in the name of client lawyer privilege? There has to be some amount of consciousness in you that you do not take up such cases. And I would urge that that's this very interesting thing that comes out post Bangladesh visit of Prime Minister Modi, when the riots happened in Bangladesh on the temples and other places. Their cry was that Muslims are maltreated in India. But that's a ploy to create a condition where Muslims can take shelter in Western countries from India in the name of religious persecution. Whereas you and I know that there is no persecution of any Muslim or any religious group in India at all. There is no state persecution of anyone. Individual scrabbles and fights are a different matter altogether. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge, big challenge in America right now, because it has created, what is happening here is, this is how the politicians abuse the system. Now, because all these Central American, Latin-speaking people are coming in, you have a natural anger. You build a natural anger that we are ourselves in a mess, and you are adding to the mess without proper verification and authentication, because now I know you are trying to secure your vote bank. That's all that is there. There's nothing else to it. Even Mexico said, even the president of Mexico said that Biden is a pro illegal immigration president of America. So if a Mexican president says that, think about it. They are the people who want maximum immigration to US. And if he accuses you of that, you are really running on a low esteem. Low esteem and low respect. That's the problem we are facing right now. Give credit to President Biden. He has not personally made any damaging statement, but his actions are not helping him, considering that he's not a lame duck president, but he's acting and behaving like a lame duck president, unfortunately. And it is not helping his
That's
image.
what you had predicted.
Yes. Yes.
But the wannabe president is also not doing anything. So you got two lame ducks.
Yeah, that is surprise. The reports are that she is receiving presidential daily briefing. It's called PDB, presidential daily briefing from all intelligence agencies, which is marked only for president. Even as vice president, Biden did not get those briefings. But there are reports that Kamala Harris is getting those briefings, which says a lot. But she has not made any mark, unfortunately. I mean, I would put it this way, that she has a golden chance to showcase herself as a leader. Whereas, on the contrary, she was having her full-throated laugh about the fact that she did not visit the border or and she has been nominated to handle this crisis. But
Oh.
yeah, she has been nominated. President Biden has appointed her to handle the crisis. And she's supposed to go to the Central American countries to take care of that. But I'm disappointed. I'm a disappointed person because I see this country drifting in the wrong direction. This country is, I think I mentioned some time ago, that is not able to handle its affluence properly. And one of the things that worries people is the amount of trillions of dollars that you are trying to create, budget deficit and budgets for infrastructure and all, is going to come by printing of notes. Sometime with the options available to people for creating an alternate to dollar in many other payment mechanisms, you might see a crash of dollar in another 3, 4, 5 years' time during Biden presidency, because people will not need dollars to make payments or billions of dollars of payments around, because there are means coming up, whether we like it or not. They may be as as much in the air, esoteric or unreliable as they may be today, but we do not know. If Musks of the world can create their own token currencies and all that, and every day I get an offer from this currency or that currency, and bitcoins. The bitcoins can themselves hurt a whole lot of people. What prevents them from floating billions of dollars worth of bitcoins tomorrow to take advantage of the pricing structure that exists today? Who knows that? So you are looking at the world dealing with strangers. Nobody knows which stranger is getting hurt, so we don't give a damn. If you knew that it is one of your who is getting hurt, then you perhaps take care of things. Right now, in the world of strangers, technology is bringing us together, but who cares is an attitude which is very, very wrong. And I always believe that leadership is key, and I think political leadership is key. And I was horrified to read that German propaganda. I will send you that report if you want to read that. It is it's so much full of hate, in which they have created a case that Modi has banned NGOs who are there to protect human rights of people. So you mean to say, yeah,
we need outsiders to protect the human rights of our own people.
Exactly. You are undermining the very system, and you are saying that I'm a protector of human rights.
That is Western imperialism at work. In fact, they always use their systems that they have to do propaganda.
Yes.
They do not value a really well-functioning and a real democratic country. In fact, what they need clients. and India refuses to become a client. So that's the problem. The only problem with India is that when it refuses to become a client, it should also become assertive. That it is, I think, learning to become assertive only now.
Right.
I hope, because I hope they go the whole hog, because the uh, assertive statements that are being made by our foreign minister, Mr. Jayashankar, they are quite heartening, and he's telling them very clearly that we are not seeking your approval. And that's true, because all 70 years we have been seeking approval kind of a country. So everything we do, we need somebody else's approval. So that's something that I think seems to be receding, though not entirely gone,
Right.
but receding a bit by bit. Uh, that's one issue. The other is, why are the Republicans silent? After all, they got 50%, nearly 50% vote in the presidential sweepstakes. They still have 50% of the Senate, and they're not very far behind as far as the House is concerned. So I'm quite surprised by their silence. Maybe there is some kind of an internal struggle taking place within the Republican Party, and they want to, some of them, some of the bigger ones in the Senate and all, they want to undercut Trump. What is it going on in the Republican Party? Because I think these kind of situations are just perfect for any political party to take advantage of.
I think the Republican Party is active. Let me put it this way. The Republican Party is active. You have very rightly said that they got 75 million votes or 73 million votes for presidential election. They have 50% seats in the Senate out of 50-50. It is actually split. It is only the vice presidential vote that casts weight in front of that. And they have only 6 votes or 7 votes less in the House of Representatives. So they are not out of power, actually. They are very much in the game. What is happening in Republican Party is that no media channel covers their protest. The only channel that talks Republican is Fox. And now there is a new one which has come called Newsmax. And the third one is OAN. So they have a very limited exposure in the mainstream media. But I like to, what I like to do is that as a media person, as a as a watcher of these events, I see how a particular news has been covered by various networks, and it's amazing. The lies and the reporting matters, the narrative matters, the choice of word matters, but nobody gives coverage to the Republican agenda at all. The CNBCs and MSNBC, CNNs of the world, they just don't give any credence to any news that happens on the Republican side. What is also happening is that, CNN had to lay off a lot of people because there is no news to cover since Trump left. So they had a whole lot of array of people focus on covering Trump. Now the Trump is no longer a news. He's floating his own media. He's floating his own media company, his own platform, because he says, I don't want to rely upon any one of these. So Republican Party, some of the stalwarts are trying to, try to see that Republican Party is not taken over by Trump. But in a very interesting development, there were several senators, 4 or 5 of them, who opposed Trump vehemently. They are no longer contesting the next senatorial election. They are dropping out.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
they are dropping out. And what is interesting is that pro-Trump support guys, pro-Trump supporters, they will fight the entire thing. Even Lisa Murkowski, who is the senator from Alaska, who voted to impeach Trump and who was generally very against Trump, she was censured by the Republican Party of Alaska, and one of the higher functionaries, a woman from Alaska, is contesting her primary election in the upcoming thing that is happening in 2022. So Republican Party has also taken a stand, is that the time for supposedly high moral stand is not worth it. Trump is the vote getter. Good, bad, or ugly, he was the guy who got 72 million votes. And if he lost, If the shenanigans didn't happen in the campaign, let's put it this way, the only reason that he lost that he could not keep his mouth shut at wrong times. Had he been able to control his mudra, as I call it, and we are aware of the fact that I had said that if he had spent 2 days in Modi's School of Political Economy, he would have learned how to deal with the opponents. See, think about it like this. एक बार मोदी जी ने कहा राहुल को मिलते रहिए, उसके बाद से राहुल नहीं गए मिलने. You remember that, right?
Oh, Modi is too clever.
Yeah.
These guys are not a patch on him. I think all these Europeans together, they could come and attend a class taken by Prime Minister Modi.
And that is exactly the reason you see a global effort by the liberals, leftists, with the famous word we use on Panchama card, thanks to Devji, the Panchama cards, they are against Modi for that reason. Because this man can be the biggest bulwark or the bullfighter against everything that is thrown at him. There is nothing that he can't shrug off. उतारते हैं ना, वो एक चोला फेंक दिया, दूसरा उतार पहन लिया. So मोदी जी अभी तो ठीक है, लेकिन उन पे अटैक होगा. जो चल रहा है, मैंने कहा था पहले भी कि 2020 में जो यहाँ हुआ वो 2024 में इंडिया आएगा, उसके सुरसार हमें दिख रहे हैं. This is an organized chorus of human rights violations in India. I mean, it is a bloody joke that, and I dare say that, it's a bloody joke that Pakistan and China, they have no locus standi to talk to India on any matter. And look at Pakistan Prime Minister's letter. And I tweeted about that. A Kangal,
Childish.
yeah, that a Napak Kangal Prime Minister is laying terms and conditions about his begging style. Okay, it's time for India to go where you belong. Exactly. That's the point which I'm trying to say. When Biden talked about rule-based, I'm so happy to hear that. And he repeated that in the press conference as well. Rule-based engagement. All right, I welcome that. Apply the rules in the same way with everyone. Don't make, selective rule application. And I think, in my opinion, I think India must insist right now. I'm telling you, Sanjay ji, India's time is now. We have to, you use the word assert, and I have used the word 4 A's. India has to arise, awaken, assert, and act. These are the 4 A's that will for us here, for swastik, for Truske apology, and what you call Chicago defeat, of the resolution, anti-India resolution against CAA. This is the thing that worked. Even I know the gentleman in Chicago, he's a big Modi supporter, a big Democrat, but this time it was all about, no, this can't happen. That's the point which I'm trying to say. We have to make those 4 A's as our new Mool Mantra of 21st century going forward. There is no other choice on that.
Yes, I think we must compliment the Indian community in the United States on fully winning these 2 battles. One about swastika in the New York Assembly, right, and the other about that anti-India, anti-farm laws resolution in Chicago.
Right.
And Audrey Trushke, I would say it's still partial.
It is partial.
Till that lady is not thrown out the way that some other people have been thrown out, because in United States it's possible. If it were JNU, then I would have said that, well, it's not possible. They are protected by the laws and by the court and by this and by that. Article 211 and all that also somehow applies to these people. But in United States, if they are doing it to other people, I mean, in the Oxford University, somebody used the N-word and was thrown out the next day. And here's that guy, that Abhijit Sarkar or whatever, he is saying the world against the Hindus, and nothing happens.
That's right.
Now, that kind of a situation cannot be permitted. Of course, there's no police investigation and all that. But similar things are happening in the United States.
Yes. About
Hindu Misia is fine.
Right.
I don't call it Hindu phobia because nobody's really scared of us.
Right.
It is Hindu Misia. It is Hindu hate.
Yes.
So Hindu Misia is just cool. Whereas you utter one word against some odd LGBCT guy or whatever, LGABCD, ABC2Z,
Right.
T. There's so many letters now that I lose track. So you say something and you become homophobic or whatever, and you go.
Correct.
And that may not be the number of people in that group, may not be 0.000001%. And here is a full community of almost 40, 50 million people, including the immigrants, and nothing. 4, 5 million people, sorry, not 40, 50. 40, 50 would be very cool, of course,
We would have
desirable.
taken over the country. No, but about Audrey Trushke, there is a lawsuit filed against her now. There is a lawsuit filed against her, and also I wrote an article. I said that let's not attack her in a threatening sense, but let's ask questions. So if the Rutgers University says her academic freedom is protected, the question then is, does academic freedom allow somebody to peddle BS or a bogus narrative? Then it is an abuse of academic freedom. That's what I said. That the people with evil intent abuse the democratic processes against us as the compassion of law and compassion of society. And that's what must be contested if our communities and our way of life has to sustain itself on a normal basis. And that's very critical to figure that out. Otherwise, I always say this very simple to all Indians, I'm saying, all listeners who are watching just now, viewers who are watching, knowing what we know now, that's a very important phrase. Knowing what we know now, what do we need to do? If even after this we don't arise, awake, assert, and act, when will we? And that's the important part towards taking an action. So there will be conflicts. The world history is full of conflicts. Like you very rightly mentioned about binary way. Think about it from our perspective. When people look at in their own extreme senses of this way and that way, but they forget that there is a vast variety of shades of gray that operates in the middle. So if you are not accepting of that, it's just like the black and white children parentage produces a brown child. So doesn't make him an Indian because he looks like an Indian color. But there are new shades of grays emerging, and that not emerging, they exist. So if you're living in this way or my way or highway, there are many other ways to attain whatever you want to attain. So that's where I say, abandon the word tolerance, introduce the word acceptance and respect. And unless and until we do that, we will forever be strangers, living with mistrust. And that doesn't help. If I have to constantly look over my shoulder as to who is going to hit me because I look differently, then it is a problem. And that's the problem where people want to keep gun rather than if somebody attacks me, I have no time to call the police, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the time when people here, when the population is widespread, thin population, you are not living in heavy people area. You could be living in a place where for a mile you may not meet anybody. There are interiors of the society. So that's why it is important from here you understand the purpose of second amendment, which gives you right to arm. But I at the same time say that doesn't give me right to buy a tank or anti-aircraft missile. But basic weaponry is required because of the state oppression. That was the original intent. And because they fought the British, they decided to have included, because if we could not have fought the British if we didn't have the right to arm ourselves, right? So while we fought with lathis and got beaten up and butchered in Jallianwala and other places, if we had guns, the British would have left much earlier. Think about it from that point of view.
Right. And yes, I think it is a concern. But then if we assert, and as you say, the 4 A's, if we do the 4 A's, then we should be able to take care of it and we should be fine. And not only we'll increase our self-esteem, we'll do good by our own country as well. And Even the American Indians can be proud OCI holders, not like Siddhartha Varadarajan, but in better ways.
Yeah.
And let's move to the questions and answers then. Uh, Before we do that, my customary request, please like and share the video. Please press the bell icon, subscribe to the channel, and also do keep supporting our initiative with your contributions. Here is the donate link. Let's move to the Q&A. पत्रम पुष्पम संजय जी, विभूति जी, सादर नमन, धन्यवाद ललित मोहन जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपको. काइजन मोक्ष, oh wonderful. Sanjay ji, Vibhuti ji, pranam, patram pushpam. Mainly, I don't get why Americans, the ones that make the news, are the way they are. Contrary to life in progress in the least destructive way.
It's a very profound statement, Kaizen. Why do they, who are you referring to? The ones that make the news are the way they are. Uh, you know, I'm not too sure I'm able to get your question, Kaizen. Sanjay ji, can you help me?
Actually,
It's a very good statement.
no, I think the least should have been most,
Ah,
in the most destructive way.
that's right. That's where I'm missing out.
That I think is the intent.
Yeah,
So probably.
that's right. News media has one thing very simple: bad news makes big news. Good news doesn't make good news. So it's a very sensationalism makes news. Uh, Normal activity is taken for granted. There are many people who are thinking of starting the good news segment as well. There are good things happening. I mean, I see on Twitter people are posting live stories that are nice. It's good to know. But negative news, destructive news makes more sensational news.
Yes, anyway, I don't know. After 5G, how much of this big media will survive? I doubt very
Very
much.
few. Very few.
I'm quite looking forward to it. Then maybe we can have a full channel.
Definitely.
Next, one must ask Rajnath to discuss border issue with Lloyd. What is that? Hmm?
So
Can you
secretary,
make out? I can't make out anything.
yeah.
Well, exposed families like Rothschild and Game will fall. Rothschild, Soros, this, that. Okay, they will do their thing.
This is a good point you have made, and I will put it this way to you, Amol, that it's very important for us to get involved and engaged. Involved and engaged doesn't mean just talking about it. So, this inspiration has been coming to me for a very long time. Everybody says whatever they want to say about India's Hindus and other things. Where is the rejoinder from us? Where is our response to all that? So, for example, this lady put a news 14-page letter to German whatever the parliament is known as in that word, saying that atrocity is committed in India. When was the last time any Indian think tank did a work and put it in parliament to discuss things happening around us which affects us? It's time for us to do that. The impact of massive migration to Germany, what is happening in America in Black Lives Matter, the social inequities in America. I'm saying that let's do some think tank work and let's ask counter questions. If you do not ask counter questions, then we begin to get taken for granted. So I appreciate that point you made. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, next. My bad. Yes, it was most. So we guessed it right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
इसके पहले कुछ था.
Isn't religious West good than woke West? which is turning woke due to decline of religion. Your comments on the Texas governor. He seems to be very bold to me.
You are right. You are right, Sabrina ji, that Texas governor is bold. People are bold. I mean, here is something which I tell you. It's very interesting that the Republican-led states, they do the best with reference to economic performance and social, what do you call, control, law and order, and maintaining a lifestyle. It is all the Democrat-run states that go crazy. So the most ill-run states are New York, California, New Jersey, Oregon, and problem areas, Michigan. These are all Democrat-run states, and they have run into severe deficits. Do you believe that New York is going to the $1 trillion Biden budget and $3 trillion or whatever they are trying to do? A whole chunk of money is meant to cover the deficit of the Democratic-run states. Texas governor is a bold guy, and I hope the influx of people coming from California is not the insidious way to turn Texas blue. I hope not. But in New York, they are going to raise taxes. They're talking about raising billions of dollars of taxes to cover the deficit that exists in the budget. So, in my opinion, the more you realize that Democratic Party here, they look like wonderful cousins of Congress Party of India. Promise to do everything for free. Somebody will pay for it, and somehow we will get the money. That's the reason why we had such fiscal indiscipline in India for so long.
Thank you, BR. Thank you for your help and support. Ops. Vibhuti does not make sense that a virus came out of one city and spread the whole world, but did not have much impact in any other city in China. Do you think there is more to it?
Look, there is definitely more to it, in my opinion. I'm not a conspiracy buff, but I do believe that things don't happen by chance. So the movie, you can make a movie luck by chance, which is a different matter, and by luck it will do well too. It did well. I know that movie. I like the movie. But the point which I'm trying to say is that this is not an accident. I don't think it was an accident. It was some trial and error that went crazy. But one thing is important here. If you go back to the storyline, timeline, when the virus broke there were stories floated of life, whatever the word was at that time. But China imposed a ban for anybody traveling from Wuhan city within China. But from Wuhan, you could go anywhere in the world. That was one. The second aspect is a very isolated stray incident here in Long Island that happened to a very good doctor friend of mine. He broke his iPad. This is in the month of March, early March. Early March, bear in mind. Early March, his iPad fell. All the stores were closed. So there was a Chinese store that was doing mailing and UPS store kind of a thing. So he went there. They also said computer repairs. Bear with me for the story. He went inside. He said, "Can you repair it?" He said, "It will take 40 minutes. Wait for it." He sat down. In the store, he saw stacks of UPS and FedEx boxes and mailing material. So he asked him, "What are you doing with these so many boxes?" "Oh, we are using this to ship sanitary pads, toilet papers, and napkins." "Where to? Have you received the supply?" "Yeah, it came from China. It left China in January 2020. Think about it. So if January 2020, a Queens wholesaler had imported $100 million worth of toilet papers, that's quite bizarre. Somebody knew something that others did not know. All right. You can say it was a wise guy, a smart guy, saw the business opportunity, but this was in the air when we were not even aware of it. So a stockist imported by ship $100 million worth of toilet paper, which they sold for 10 times the price, when suddenly the toilet paper shortage was there. I jokingly mentioned, start washing, stop using the toilet paper. You might do better. Have a better cultural influence. But that's the point. Nobody knows. The world leadership must be held to account. Who did it? I'm not saying China did it. I'm not saying who did it. I'm saying find out who in heavens did this damage to the global economy, to lives of people. Since your name is Tech Ops, maybe you should do some Tech Ops.
Right. Imagine 500,000 people dying. It's 500,000 people. They didn't die. US didn't lose even a tenth of these people during the two world wars.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Next. Nachiket, advice to Hindus on civilizational injustices and how can we heal from this trauma and learn. क्योंकि बहुत असंतोष है मन में.
I hear your pain and I feel your pain because I have gone through that. So, but then at the same time, we have to begin to hold ourselves accountable for what happened to us. I'm not satisfied. I'm not the kind of guy who will say blame the Mughals and the British East India Company to dominate and rule us. Maybe that was the dark period of our history. We lost our moorings. But we have the wisdom, we have the knowledge, we have the information. It's there. Now is not the time to let it continue to happen. That's why I said, if you want to get rid of your asantosh, then begin to act. And beginning the act only will happen when you become aware of what is happening to you. So this is where the personal responsibility comes in. So read the text, read why it happened, who did it to us, why did we let it happen. So with all the wisdom and knowledge and information, if we do not do that, then we continue to suffer. And I would sincerely say I hit upon those 4 A's, and they are my mool mantra. Arise, awake, assert, and act. But if any one of them is missing, then we hurt ourselves. So take care of that.
Next. Vinita Pranam, concerned about Biden's pro-China policy and its impact on India. Any comment?
Vinita, this is an important question. I have said this before, and if you see the recent trends, I would urge you to look up what is happening. Biden maybe have a China weakness, but his policy is no longer pro-China anymore. It is coming out very clearly that he cannot ignore India in the Indo-Pacific. Quad meeting has happened. Chinese are being held responsible. And there's a reason. I mean, politicians don't do things foolishly. That he has talked about rule-based international relations, and that we must hold him to that standard. Yes, what impact on India is concerned, I personally believe India must lay down its own terms and conditions of satisfaction. That's most important. You cannot lecture me about my friends and my way of doing things if you can't contain your idiot Pakistan there. And I'm willing to make that statement, calling Pakistan a country that doesn't mean well to us at all. Let's acknowledge the fact. Let us come to terms with this rubbish of Aman ki Asha, let's put it into flames. उसको अस्सी पे चढ़ा देना चाहिए अब. हमें पाकिस्तान के साथ हमें वो करना है कि अब तुम निकम्मे बेकार लोग हो, तो पूरी सरकार तुम्हारी गई हुई है, अब हमें तुमसे डील नहीं करना है. So even in this condition, its prime minister writes that kind of a letter. That should be torn publicly, and it should be thrown wherever it belongs.
Chanties clubs. That is the Aman Ki Asha. Next. Krishna Sundar, based on the mostly peaceful fatal carjacking incident in DC, it's interesting to see how the left reacted. Whose side did the left take in this case, Vibhuti Ji? Hula Hoo snack bar or BLM? Because looting matters. Wow.
I'm not aware of this carjacking incident in DC, Krishna. So, you know, if I know the incident, I will take the side. And there is no question of Hola Who Snack Bar or BLM. I don't know the incident, so sorry. I'll come back on this later. Maybe I'll post something on the group when if I get to know something about it.
Okay. Krishna Sundar again. Guaranteed income programs, school boards preferring to teach and vaccinate illegal aliens and other various socialist programs. Don't you think California is on the rise?
Yes, you are right. It is. It is scary for normal human beings, even hardcore California lovers who I know very well. They are very worried. They say that our state has gone crazy, and that's why the recall petition, which is required to have 1.5 million signatories to recall the governor, it has crossed 2 million signatures right now. And recall of Governor News is going to happen. It's likely to happen.
Likely to happen. That would be interesting.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Next. Krishna Sundar again. Observation. In Wellesley College, MA, a girl who identified as a masculine of center genderqueer named Timothy and prefers to be referred to by male pronouns was told that she could no longer run for coordinator of the school office of multicultural affairs because she was now a white male and therefore insufficiently diverse for a diversity officer. It appears she diversified a way bit too far. Woktopia.
Krishna, thank you very much. You made me laugh. There's another issue going on. I will definitely
Just a
argue.
question, because I think that woke culture is still a few years away in
Big
India.
time, big time.
What if a male identified himself as a female, then he doesn't get to bear a child? Can he sue the state?
There are a whole lot of issues arising. For example, you talked about that. Children cannot take tattoo until age 18, but as 12 or 13, they have the right to decide what gender they want to be. There is something going wrong in the frame of reference of this country. God knows which vote bank one is pandering to, but it's not endearing anyone to anyone. That's the important part here. So, women, a male can change his gender, and they have said they will pay for it. In the military, they have said, we will pay for it if you change your gender. So, women athletes will have to compete with somebody who opts to become a woman. But a woman obviously will not be able to compete with a man in the same domain. There's something crazy happening. I do not know. Sometimes I feel I don't care for
No,
that.
but how dare you say that? It's an equal world.
It is an equal one.
So equal means equality means absolute equality. Though in the nature you may never have it,
Right.
but in the woke world you can have it. And if the woke world continues like this, I can guarantee you here and now that China will beat United States hands down.
Everything. Yes. Absolutely.
Next, Pranav Thete, Namaste Vibhuti ji. I'm planning to do my master's from UK from Tier 1 University. How can I contribute to my country being abroad? Great having you.
Thank you, sir.
Uh,
Thank you very much, Pranavji. Best of luck for your choice of going to UK. And all I would like to say to you that once you arrive in UK, stay in touch. I will share with you my experiences about how I did what I did. But one thing which I will always say, don't be an apologist for being who you are, what you are. Be proud of your heritage and stay awake. I will change the 4 A's for you. Stay awake, stay assertive, and be yourself. No apologies.
next, इतनी बार धोखा देने पर तो माता पिता सगे बेटा बेटी से रिश्ता तोड़ देते हैं What is this infatuation of Hindu in India with Pakistan and Abrahamics? पूनम अभी
पूनम जी,
पूनम जी आपने हमारा वो आज 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 वो 7 बजे वाला शो नहीं देखा?
पूनम जी बहुत अच्छा सवाल है। ये तो that's what I said earlier on. I think you are agreeing with me that India must break all diplomatic, all channels, and Pakistan has permitted the import of sugar and some items from India today. I read the news. I should say Indian traders must say, nahi hai maal, big gaya. So,
See, cotton and white sugar. Now, cotton is all contracted to Bangladesh. And I don't think they have any cotton left with them. All exports are going to Bangladesh. The Pakistan industry is gone. You can't survive without cotton a whole year. So the
Right.
Pakistan industry is all dead and gone. And sugar, if we have spare, so ठीक है, मार्केट मिलेगी तो देंगे, हमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
नहीं, एक बात बताऊं मैं यहाँ पे आपको। कई साल पहले मुझे एक पाकिस्तानी दोस्त ने कहा था कि प्रॉब्लम आपके देश में ये है कि आप हिंदू लोग बड़े शरीफ हो, आप बड़े शरीफ हो, आपको शांति के लिए आप कुछ भी करेंगे, और आपके दिस आई डोंट मीन इन डिसरेस्पेक्ट, आई एम कोटिंग समबडी, आपके बनिया तो 2 पैसे के बिकते हैं साहब। आपके बनिया लोग 2 पैसे के बिकते हैं, 1 पैसे की प्रॉफिट के लिए वो देश को बेच देंगे आपको। हमें तो हम आपके दैट वाज द मूवी टाइम, आमिर खान्स मूवी सरफरोश और समथिंग लाइक दैट। कहते आपके देश में तो बहुत सारे मिर्ची सेठ पड़े हुए हैं बिकने के लिए साहब, हमें कोई फिक्र ही नहीं है, हम तो जब चाहे आपके देश को बर्बाद कर दें। दैट्स व्हाट, to use the American slang, pissed me off. That we can't be so low, we can't fall so low, we can't get so cheap. Come on, guys. We got to know your enemy. If you can't see the enemy who is staring straight in your eyes, then can't blame anybody.
Right. Next. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this session, and in very good time. We're just over 1 hour today. So I think we have adhered to the US standards. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vibhuti Ji. Thank you very much, everyone. I can see one little question coming up from Poonam Appi Ji. Let's take that also before we part. नहीं देख पाए, सोकर अभी उठे, सर्जरी हुई थी तो अभी अफीम के महीने के लिए ले जायज है, इसलिए सो जाते हैं। कोई बात नहीं, अफीम तो हमारे राजपूताना की शान रही बहुत लंबे समय तक। आप बिल्कुल, अफीम मुबारक आपको। और now we can say good night to everybody. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
Jai Hind, Vande Mataram. Good night.